He is Hall of Fame baseball writer Jayson Stark, the absolute best you can get in the business when it comes to baseball analysis, specifically of the Phillies as well. And he's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Jayson, let's start things off with your stat of the week.
Connor, I wanted to talk about the way that game ended last night, because if you're under, let's say, 35 years old, you have probably never seen a Phillies game end the way that game ended last night. Because a walk-off wild pitch is not usually a thing that decides these games. I went back 50 years today. I could only find 3 other Phillies games where they won on a walk-off wild pitch. And the last time was over 30 years ago. I'll try to run through them real quick. April 26th, 1993 was the last one. Some pitcher I'd never heard of, Gino Missanelli from the Giants, wild pitched in Juan Bell. Dave Hollins was at the plate. For that, you go back to August 14th, 1990. Steve Bedrosian was pitching for the Giants and wild pitched in a Philly, I don't remember, Rod Booker. Dave Hollins was also at the plate for that one, and maybe John Kruk remembers that because he played in both of those games. And the only other one was in 1983, a guy named Steve Baker, relief pitcher for the Cardinals, wild pitched in a guy named Mike Schmidt.
I've heard of that guy.
It's funny. Yeah, it's funny. He had a pretty similar trip around the bases to what Bryson Stott had last week. Walk, got bunted up. Then there was a wild pitch to third, and then another wild pitch. And I'm trying to imagine Mike Schmidt scampering around the bases with all that daring wild pitch base running. So the point is, how lucky were the Phillies to win that game? When you hear how rare it is, I think I just proved it doesn't get much luckier than that.
No, it really doesn't. Well, the Phillies have some issues right now. They did win the game, but they do have some issues in the bullpen. And I'm going to ask you, especially Orion Kerkering. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, let me just go a little big picture first, because here's what I've been thinking. How much better would this team's record be if this team had last year's bullpen? You know, at least the pre-Met series version of that bullpen. They got 8 blown saves already. They had 5 last year in July, August, and September combined. So, I mean, this isn't going to work if it continues. But it's interesting, because if you look at the data, they have one of the best strikeout rates of any bullpen in the league. And the average velocity of the guys in that pen is up there among the league leaders for any bullpen in the league. So it seems to me that's telling us that some of this is fixable. And I guess the question is, what or who do we think is fixable? And when I look at Orion Kerkering, I think he's fixable. But I did talk to 2 scouts this week who cover the Phillies, and they think that the Phillies have somehow messed up his slider because it has a slightly different shape now, so the hitters see it so much better. When he first came up 2 years ago, he had a 40% whiff rate, swing and miss rate, on that pitch, and it's under 25% this year, plus he's got command issues with it. It's a bad combination, but I personally trust Caleb Cotham to fix that. I think he's really good at what he does, and so I do think Orion Kerkering is fixable. And then I think the question is, who else? So is Jordan Romano fixable? His stuff's been better, so it makes you want to say yes. My reservation is his slider still doesn't have that bite that it had when he was an all-star in Toronto. That was his best pitch. It was a huge swing and miss pitch for him then. But he lost that pitch. He never found it last year. Do you feel like he's found it consistently this year?
No.
I mean, I think if he's throwing 97, 98, he's fixable. But I think the trouble with both Romano and Kirkring is the longer this lingers, like these games where they go off the rails, they all count. So the time for those guys to figure this out is sooner than later.
Yeah, and that's a problem as we talk to Jayson Stark, Hall of Fame baseball writer, on the Comcast Business Hotline. That's a problem that's going to exist, it seems, for the long term. Maybe this is more of an immediate conversation, but last night the defensive mishaps by Trey Turner and Johan Rojas loomed large, even though the Phillies won that game. What's going on, in your opinion, with the Phillies' defense?
Well, again, if you look at the data, they're one of the worst defensive teams in baseball. If you just use your eyeballs, they're still one of the worst defensive teams in baseball. And I don't really understand that. Johan Rojas, why is he in the big leagues? He's here for his defense, period. I know he's making strides as a hitter, but 2 years ago, I honestly thought that guy, the reads he got on balls to center, reminded me of a young Andrew Jones. But what the heck was going on last night? I mean, elite center fielders, which is what we thought he was, make those two plays that he didn't make without breathing hard. See, I always have thought that defense was about focus, and I feel like Johan is so young, and he's still a work in progress in a lot of ways, and one of the ways is he just hasn't mastered the art of playing every play of every game with the focus that elite defensive players need to have. And I thought for a long time that focus is Trey Turner's problem. And that shouldn't happen with a player as athletic as he is, who seems to really care about baseball and his team and being a good player as much as he does. I mean, I really admire the fact that every time he has one of those games, he stands there and he answers those questions and he blames himself. He's tough on himself. He's as accountable as you'd want him to be, but he's got to fix this, because if he doesn't, I think he's going to wind up in the outfield. And then if you go around the diamond, shouldn't they be better? I mean, Bryce is great at first. Bryson Stott has had a couple of glitches this year. He should be great at second. Alec Boehm, he's having a tough year, but he has made himself playable at third. JT is still, I think, an exceptional defensive catcher. In the outfield, Marsh, Kepler, Rojas, they are really talented defenders. So my point is, there's no excuse for this group of players to be playing baseball this sloppy.
All right, you look at the Phillies, and let's face it, they have lived and died with the long ball the last couple of years. But one thing's a little concerning is the whole Bryce Harper thing. None in his last 9 games. One in his last 11. The power outage is a little shocking.
Right. It's 42 plate appearances without a homer now, right? Slugging 250 in those 9 games. Bryce Harper slugging 250. And, you know, it seemed like he'd found it in that last homestand, right, Rick? He hit 3 and 4 days at one point. I just feel like we've seen these stretches before from Bryce. What generally happens is his swing gets out of sync, and he doesn't get the ball in the air. So I just looked at that this last week and a half. His hard hit rate is over 55%. And you take that from anybody in your lineup. It's what you want. But his launch angle on those swings is 9 degrees, which is the opposite of what you want. I mean, unless the fence is 4 inches off the ground, you cannot hit home runs with a 9-inch launch angle. So it just tells you that his swing is out of whack. When he's gone through these things, I don't know what you say, I think he gets away from what makes him special. He stops letting the game come to him, and he tries to force it, and he swings too much, he chases too much, more than he knows he should. But I think he feels like the next swing is that swing where he's going to find it. And, I mean, I guess he's right. He's going to happen. He's Bryce Harper. But I'll ask you the question that I asked about the bullpen. How much better would this team's record look if Bryce was hitting home runs like, October Bryce, even last homestand Bryce, I mean, they might be 19 instead, 19 and 10 instead of 16 and 13. Am I wrong?
You're not.
No.
So close to where they need to be, but still some of those nagging issues that hopefully will be remedied as we get deeper than just a month into the season. Jayson, we always appreciate the time. Folks can check out your work on The Athletic, on the Starkville Pod. You're everywhere, man, and we appreciate you being here with us. So thank you for the time.
Yeah, good to talk to you guys. Thanks.
Hey, I want to thank you guys for watching, listening in. I want you to like, subscribe, do what you have to do to kind of stay on focus with us. Also, we also have plenty of other content that goes on here on YouTube. So go to that, like that, subscribe to that. And also you can catch us on the afternoon show, 2 to 6, Monday through Friday, 97.5 The Fanatic, 97.5thefanatic.com, and NBC Sports Philadelphia.